Diyos Ama namin, lumalapit kami sa iyo para sa aming kahilingan na kami ay iyong proteksyonan laban sa 2019 and coronavirus na kumitil na ng maraming buhay at nakaapekto na sa sangkatauhan. Nananalangin kami para sa iyong biyaya, para sa mga taong inatasan na pag-aralan ang kalikasan at ang sanhi ng virus na ito. Gayon din, upang mapahinto ang patuloy nitong paglaganap, gabayan mo po ang mga inatasang mga laga sa kalusugan na kanila nawang magampanan ang kanilang tungkulin ng buong husay at may malasakit. Gabayan mo po ang mga kawani ng pamahalaan at ang mga nasa pribadong institusyon sa kanilang paghahanap ng lunas upang masugpo ang epidemyang ito. Ipinapanalangin namin ang lahat ng mga naapektuhan. Nawa ay hilumin mo po ang kanilang karamdaman. Ipagkaloob mo po nawa sa amin ang iyong biyaya upang kami ay patuloy na makagawa ng kabutihan para sa lahat at makatulong sa lahat ng mga nangangailangan. Ipinapanalangin po namin ito sa pamamagitan ng aming Panginoong Hesukristong iyong anak na nabubuhay at nag-ahari kasama ng Espiritu Santo magpasawalang hanggan. Amen. Maria, aming ina, at tulong ng mga Kristiyano, ipanalangin mo po kami. San Rafael Arcangel, ipanalangin mo po kami. San Roque, ipanalangin mo po kami. San Lorenzo Ruiz, ipanalangin mo po kami. San Pedro Calungsod, ipanalangin mo po kami.
Kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya na pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
To formally start our program, let's call on the Class President, Marites C. Imperial, to give us the welcome remarks. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Greetings to our SUC President, Sir Alberto N. Naperi, BPA, the Campus Administrator, Sir Rolando G. Beatis, ABA, the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Ma'am Ana E. Lorana, EDB, the Dean of the College of Economics and Management, Ma'am Gladys D. Rosales, PhD, the Chairperson of the Department of Agribusiness, Sir Sunny R. Corporal, the Chairperson of the Department of Agri-Ecotourism Management, Sir Ardolph B. Arce, to our guest speakers, Sir Aboyowa Magbeyi, and to all the teachers, and especially to our participants that are here in today's webinar. A pleasant afternoon to each and everyone. I'm Maritas Imperial, 4th year class president in Managerial Economics and BT 140, a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness student. I have the great pleasure in welcoming you all to this webinar, hosted by the BSAB 4th year students with the theme Bite into Economics, Challenges and Opportunities of the Businesses Amidst the Pandemic, that aims to educate students with the opportunities and resources despite circumstances with the presence of the COVID-19 pandemic. The economy is one of the most affected factors in our society today. Many organizations, businesses, trade, and industries suffer from slow growth. The pandemic has forced them to break through this rigid system and the act instantly. It shows that as soon as there is a strong enough stimulus, things can change. This will lead to remarkable and opportunity to create innovations now that can be maintained after crisis. This pandemic is creating pressure, shaking up our society, triggering our fears and uncertainty. Hence, no matter how serious and sad all of this, there are upsides as well. Always look for the brighter side of your life. To give us additional insight and knowledge, our speaker will be talking about the challenges and opportunities of the businesses. Without further ado, we formally welcome everyone to this webinar.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Imperial, for that message. And we are just starting, but I want already to congratulate this class for hosting an event because I know in these times that we have the pandemic, it is something that we have to be proud about that we were able to host an event in the middle of the pandemic. So to give us again another opening message, let's call on Mr. Aldo Arce.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, rather. So, good afternoon, everyone. Most especially to our resource speaker for this webinar, Bite into Economics, Challenges and Opportunities of Business Amidst the Pandemic, Mr. Aboyowa Magbeyi. Good afternoon, sir. As we all know, COVID-19 pandemic, the recent major disruption of the decade, causing unprecedented global health crisis, economic downturn, and halt on large parts of our social life. It has not only infected millions of people worldwide, but has almost paralyzed the world economy as countries impose tight travel and social restrictions to lessen the spread of the virus. Businesses feel the impacts of COVID-19 as the number case positive grows. The negative economic impact becomes already palpable and represents the biggest impact the world has ever felt in decades, according to World Bank Organization. It is clear in this context that COVID-19 pandemic has brought us diverse challenges. It has challenged the decision-making capability of our governments as what measure to implement to lessen the contagion and curtail its economic impacts. Also, also, Sorry. It has only infected millions of people, but will paralyze the world economy as countries impose trade, travel, and social restrictions to lessen the spread of the virus. Businesses feel the impact of COVID-19 as the number of positive grows, the negative economic impact becomes already palpable and represents the biggest impact the world has ever felt in decades, according to World Bank. It is clear in this context that COVID-19 pandemic has brought us diverse challenges. It has challenged the decision-making capability of our government as what measure to implement to lessen the contagion and curtail its socio-economic impacts. Also, COVID-19 has challenged the flexibility, adaptability, and coping ability of businesses amidst economic downturn. The world we live in today is indeed far from the world we lived in yesterday. The pandemic has impacted all aspects of our lives and has changed the way we see things. Despite all of this, there is still a silver lining amidst all of this. The unfortunate situation we are facing today has flooded our ingenuity, which led to opportunities, which are manifested by the swift growing of online businesses and our patronage of online marketplace platforms. This pandemic has also given us the time to reflect on things and discovered and undiscovered. It is indeed true that there is something good hidden behind every bad situation. It is our choice whether to let these things or this situation put us down. The choice is ours. Until now, the world is still searching for a vaccine to combat the virus. Let us hope and pray that we will find the cure so that all of this will just be story to tell to the next generations. Before I end, I would like to extend my felicitations in advance to the organizer, headed by the class president, Ms. S. Imperial, and to their professor and the dean of our college, Dr. Gladys G. Rosales. Finally, I would also want to thank the participants this afternoon for joining this valuable and relevant webinar. Let us join Mr. Bandagar as Mr. Magbeyi as he talks more about the challenges and opportunities of business amidst the pandemic. Happy learning, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Maganda Umaga. Um, First of all, I would like to thank the management and school directors of Central Bicol States University of Agriculture for this opportunity to be with you today to share a little insights of where we stand and the journey so far as in regards to COVID-19. Special greetings to the Department, College of Economics and Management, and thanks to Dr. Gladys, the Dean, Dr. Gladys Gomez Rosales, Dean of College of Economics and Management for this opportunity. And I also want to thank you all, participants of this event today, this program, for taking your time to join today. So I'm very much honored. And I would want to start by telling you I'm almost like a Filipino because I've lived in Philippines for over 6 years. And I'll say my success in my career can be attributed to the knowledge I gained from Philippines. I did my master's degree in Philippines, which was a master's of business administration at Philippine Women University. I also did some exchange program courses in De La Salle University, TAF, and currently I'm taking my PhD in Holy Angel University in Philippines, even if I live in Japan. So I still feel so much like a Philippines. So I feel so much at home being with you all today. Okay, so we have a very interesting topic today, and which is something we are still currently facing, right? And let's go. So I'll just pull up my slide. Please type in the box if you could see my slide. Can you see my slide? Okay, thank you for confirming. So our topic today is going to be the expected new world. And I'll be talking more on the education perspective of the expected new world. Okay, so these are our outlines. COVID-19 is more like an earthquake with an aftershock that will permanently reshape the world that we live in. It will take time for the recovery process to go full circle throughout the world. As COVID-19 cases rise, the world favors cleanliness over sustainability, in which all environmental movement is being forced to adapt. Prevention is always better than cure, so personal hygiene has been encouraged during this time. So let me start by giving you some insights to what we're experiencing here in Japan. Here in Japan, like you know, Japanese has a very, very high. I mean, the hygiene in Japan is on the very high side. So these are one of the things that I would attribute to that has really helped the nation during this pandemic, this global pandemic. Social distance has been a thing of the norm here in Japan also. So these are one of the things that have been helping and will continue to still help. And it's one thing we encourage. So what would post-COVID-19 look like? This crisis that we are seeing currently now, most of them already existed. COVID-19 simply scaled up the crisis. For example, the world has been facing problems in terms of food, education, and work. We have approached this crisis differently. So what we are approaching now, in terms of this crisis, what we're facing now, the approach we are going to give, the rules, the method of life, it's totally different from what we used to know. A number of the issues and challenges that we have been facing actually existed before COVID-19, like I mentioned earlier. What COVID came to do is to accelerate and amplify the problem. And this was a time the world was not even prepared for this. I mean, there was poverty, there was hunger, there's been environmental challenges, imbalance in work life. So all these problems actually existed. The pandemic came to test how ready we are to deal with our issues and concern. We are humans. We are all humans, people with creative ability. We have the ability of creativity. How are we going to use such creativity or creative ability to address the issue that we are facing now? We are all human. We are all born with that talent in us. So how are we going to use it to address what we're currently facing? So I want to talk more on the young continents we have in the world. So Africa has, when I say young continent, going with the percentage of population under the age of 25. And this statistics, it's from 2017. Africa, the population from 25 below is 60%. So 60% of the population we have in Africa fall under the age of 25 years and below. And then Latin American and the Caribbean, it's next, which is about 42% of their population falls under the age of 25%. And Asia, which is where I currently live and where we all, majority of the participants today are from Asia and Philippines precisely. We have 40%, which is also very quite high. So 40% of the population in Asia is from the age 25 below. And then other continents like Europe being the lowest, it's around 25%. And so looking at these statistics, there's a huge opportunity in Africa and Asia. So this leads to the question, how do we secure the future? How do we secure the continent that we live in? And at the same time, add value to the world at large. So as human beings, we really have to add value, not just only to our continent, but also to the world at large. So is this possible? I will narrow this down to Asia, since we live in Asia, and for me, technically talaga Pinoy nako, because I feel like a Filipino. Okay, so let's narrow it down in Asia. Then we need to know how we can invest massively in the large fraction of the world population under the age of 25. We have to invest massively in this population. We can see 40% as a liability, speaking of Asia now, which is 40%. We can see this 40% as a liability or as an asset rather. It's going to be a liability as long as we leave them the way they are. If we just leave that 40% the way they are, it will be a liability. But if we begin to invest in them in terms of education and quality health care, then we can consider them as an asset for the future. It's not about the size of population. Yeah, a lot of times we say, oh, the country is not going forward or the nation is not going forward due to the population. I put it to you, what matters the most is the quality of the population and not the population. So if, for example, the 40% we have of 25 years and below in Asia, if these individuals, majority of them become as prominent as Bill Gates, would that be a problem of population? I don't think so. So the population would not be the problem. So the major thing we have to check is, what do we have? What's the quality of education we give to this population? And we all have a role to play. You, I, educators, we all have a role to play in today's society in terms of education, because education goes far beyond just your classroom. Education has gone far beyond that. I will elaborate more on that. And this is what makes us understand the importance of education and why we must invest massively in it. So let's talk about some of the challenges of entrepreneur in time of COVID. This is looking at the entrepreneur aspect in terms of COVID. Taking action and moving forward has been one of the major problems, which you can elaborate in delaying decision making, which will only lead to more problem, and those problems will require more decision. So as youth, we must learn not to procrastinate. Procrastination leads to delay. And when you delay, it even makes the problem more bigger. So entrepreneurs, these are one of the challenges that they have been facing, or we have been facing during this time of COVID. So people are very reluctant to take action because of their they are not sure of, they cannot predict what tomorrow would be. Keeping up with legislation has also been another thing. Government policies. So the business landscape is changing at a rapid pace. It seems like government release new policies or regulation that affect business owners every day. So we had the compulsory lockdown in Philippines, which affected a lot of people. And this has been one major challenge during this COVID-19, during this pandemic. Also, finding a balance and achieving a healthy mindset, as always, that's another major challenges that generally business have been facing during this pandemic. Fear, anxiety, hopelessness. We are all experiencing a lot of intense emotions during this time. We are all experiencing it, regardless, students, government workers, regardless of who you are, we're all experiencing this. And entrepreneurs have been no exceptions to that. And another thing, we'll be dealing with information overload. So when this started, and even until now, we actually don't know what information to believe. There's too much information coming in at the same time, and you don't even know which is the right information for you or what you have to do. So these are some of the challenges that really broke us down during this pandemic, and some of them still have an impact till today in our lives. And deal information overload and selecting the right focus. So this has been another selecting the right focus. So what do you focus on? From a student's perspective, I feel learning must continue, regardless of if the schools are closed down or open. Learning is a continuous process. So we should continue learning. And that was something that majority of us, we all found it difficult to focus during this pandemic. Example of focus could be a student trying to put in what he has learned into practice during the long stay at home. So let me try to do something. So those could be some attributes of focus. So let's go to the next. So I'll elaborate on ethical issues in international business during this time. So some of the ethical issues could be employment. A lot of people lost their job. Not only in Philippines, in my home country, Nigeria, even here in Japan. So a lot of people lost their job to this technical problem. And we also know some other technical problems will be corruption. Like most of you must have watched on the TV, there's been a resolution in my home country due to bad governance, and people are been protesting for about 2 weeks now, requesting for a better life, good governance. So this is something that also affects businesses, and it really has a larger impact during this time of the pandemic. And we also have human rights. It's also another thing which has a role to play, or which is playing a very vital role during this pandemic. And I would say, like here in Japan, we didn't have, using Japan as a reference, we didn't have any compulsory lockdown in Japan due to the policy they had. Even if it was declared a state of emergency during the peak of the pandemic, that we have to stay at home, it wasn't mandatory for us to stay at home. We could still go to work if we want. So, and things like that. So generally, while some other countries, this was different. And that really affected a lot of businesses all around the world. And then pollution, that's another thing that also affects. And unfortunately, or fortunately, during this time, we had like a rebate of the pollution, like the world was healed. the air, the water, the land. So I don't know if in that aspect, if we're going to see COVID as a good thing. But so that was one aspect. So let's go into understanding the time. So what is actually happening today? I want to put it like I mentioned. These are things that we have faced similar, but nothing as difficult as, I mean, challenging as what we currently have. But let us take the clock back. So the Agrarian era, if we go back in times of history, so I want us to understand the time. If we go back in the time of history, and are you following me? If you're following me, you can just chat on the chat box. I really wish if this was like an interactive section, but fortunately, we don't have much of interaction. But yeah, so if you are following me, you can just type on the chat box. Thank you. Or if I'm moving too fast, thank you. And if you also have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them on the chat box also. So going back in time, the development of economics started with agriculture. So fortune and wealth had been created by economics through agriculture, like you all know. And one of the top economics in the world at that time, Thomas Malthus, also known as the prophet of doom, he predicted humans would start eating humans. And one of the reasons why he predicted this was as the level of growth increased to the level that it exceeded the production of food. And that led him to say the way, because we all depend, the world depended then all on agriculture. And he said that it will get to a point humans, we have to eat humans to survive. But thanks to education, that never happened. And it would never happen. So this problem actually triggered a solution, which led to the industrial age, when man had to start inventing and creating things to accelerate the level of food production. Moving to the industrial era, that led us to the industrial era. The industrial era was an era of mass production. It helped us create tools, equipment, and this was all achieved through education. Education helped us to meet the world need at that time. Men started to invent and create things that will accelerate the level of food production. And as a result of this, we did not fall into the prophecy of Thomas. Man didn't have to eat man due to the help of education. So we can see how vital education has been in the existence of man. And since we didn't fall into it, meaning we were able to actually increase the level of food production to exceed the level of population growth. And once again, thanks to education for that. And now we're moving into a new era, what I would call the knowledge era. We're in another era which is beyond the industrial era. We are in a new world right now, and it is called the knowledge economy. It is different from the kind of world or the rules that govern the industrial era slightly different. So in this world we are now, I'll make some reference. I'll make some reference to what this knowledge era is all about. So I'll give a market comparison of the market capitalization of the world's most valuable companies. And in 2006, I'll just make a comparison. Sorry, I'm not able to share this now because it's actually on my phone. So I won't be able to share it, but I could give you the link and you can have access to the information of that. So the age of tech, that's what I want to talk about. So ExxonMobil was actually the world's most valuable public company as of 2006. And it was actually ranking at about 362.5 billion US dollars. And like we all know, it's an energy oil company. And then the second company on that list in 2006 was General Electric. General Electric was valued at 348.5 billion US dollars. And then we had the first tech company, which is Microsoft. It was at that time 279 billion US dollars, which was the first tech company. It was on the third. And then we had Citigroup. Citigroup was valued at about 230.9 billion US dollars, which is a financial service. We had BP also, which is an energy company and oil, at 225.9 billion. And lastly, we had the Royal Dutch Shell, which was valued at 203.5 billion US dollars. Okay, so fast forward 10 years later, which is 2016. All of those companies, apart from Microsoft and ExxonMobil, were all gone among the world's first 6 most valuable public companies. And then let's take a look at what are the first top 6 valuable companies. We have Apple. We have Alphabet. Apple is the number 1, valued at 571.4 billion US dollars. And we have Alphabet, which is 530.6 billion US dollars. We still don't have any other company. These are tech. And then we have Microsoft, which is $445.5 billion. And it's also a tech company. And we have Amazon, which is $306.4 billion, also another tech company. And then we have the first oil company, which is ranked at number 5. valued at 356.0 billion US dollars. And the sixth on the rank as of 2006 is Facebook, our well-known Facebook, which was valued at that time at $355.6 billion. So with these statistics, I have no doubt that the future actually is in the tech. So there's so much we have to do in terms of tech, because everything is going that way, knowledge base. That's why I said we're in a knowledge based era. And let's give a statistic of currently now what we're facing now. So the market capitalization of Zoom, which some of you would know Zoom, it's actually an online platform like similar to what we're using right now for this seminar. And if we compare Zoom capitalization with the top 6 airlines in the world, Zoom actually has more in terms of asset value or financial value compared to these top 6 airlines. And the aviation industry is a very big industry, and it requires a lot of huge capitals to run the aviation industry. Just like getting an airplane, you can see it needs space. It's also massive. However, Zoom, which was as of December 2009, December 2009, the asset of Zoom was just $10 million US dollars as of December 2019. And in the midst of the pandemic, in March 2020, it grew massively to 200 million US dollars. And in April 2020, it increased with over 100 million US dollars. It became 300 million US dollars. Zoom. So from 10 million to 300 million within a space of 5 months. And currently now, as I speak with you, Zoom is no longer in millions, it's in billions. It currently sits at 47.37 billion US dollars. That's a huge growth. A very, very huge growth. So, and this was all within a period of less than a year. It grew that big. So what we're saying is we currently live in an age of knowledge. It's a new era, and this new era we live is the era of knowledge. So I want to use some of my experience in business. I would like to share some of my experience in business here in Japan to relate with this pandemic which we are currently facing and we are still addressing. So I'm going to use my language school and marketing agency as a case studies. So it's called Japan Tree. So I'll use Japan Tree as a case studies. I'll just give a little brief intro about Japan Tree, and then we can I can share some of the experiences or challenges I faced also. So Japan Tree is a privately owned crisis response for profit managing consultancy, enterprise, and language school located in Japan. Our consulting services are primarily in the services of industry, focusing on industrial, commercial, and government style products in trade, education, technology, and agriculture between Japan and Africa. Our mission is to reinvent the African-Asia integration. And as part of this, we aim to bring Japanese language to the doorstep of every African and Asian, as well as offer Japanese citizens opportunity to learn English language. Japanese language are delivered by lessons by licensed Japanese tutors via our online platform. Okay, so before we go into these are some of the before we go into the question and answers section, these are some of the keynotes I would like us to talk about. So how do we get out? How do we get into the future, which we actually already in the future? So when I was living in Philippines, I worked remotely with an American company. I lived in the Philippines. We attended to clients in the US, Canada, and Mexico. So I'm going to give a little bit of a comparison within three countries, which is Philippines, Nigeria, and Japan. So currently here, now in Japan, I work in the public sector as an educator in the public schools, and I own my own company, which I created, I would say, from the knowledge I got from Philippines. So I did my MBA in Philippines, and when I finished my MBA, I felt very aggressive. Like I want to put in the things that I learned. I want to put it into practice. So I was very, very anxious. I got into the BPO industry, like I mentioned earlier, in Philippines, and I learned a lot from it. We could stay in Philippines. We could solve the problem of big companies in American, and we get paid wages for it. So it was a really very interesting experience to me. And when I talk about BPO, this thing, I'm talking about customer service, attending to clients from the US, from all part of the world. So one thing I really want to say is, where is the future going to? Remote working is actually one aspect of the future that we have to embrace. And this is something a country like Philippines have been doing for a very long time. It's not common in Africa, but in Philippines, it's common. And this is something our generation have to put in more effort into, things like this. So when I worked there, I was just acquiring skills, and I knew this is something I would have to use some days. And I transited, I moved into to Japan to learn Japanese language. And that's how my journey started after leaving Philippines, working in Philippines for 2 years. And I moved to Japan. And in Japan, it was a very difficult situation. I mean, after living in Philippines for 6 years and then coming to Japan, which has a totally different culture. Like in Philippines, you just have to smile and everything is fine. As long as you're smiling, I mean, everything is okay in Philippines. So that was just a secret I learned for my 6 years in Philippines. Filipinos are always smiling, always happy. So it wakes up this joyful nature in me, and I'm always like happy. So that kept me going. In Japan, it's totally different. But for some reason, I felt like this was the fertile land where I have to grow what I've learned from school. And when I say learn from school, I'm using Philippines as a point of reference. Even if I studied in my country, I studied political science and public administration. I technically never use the knowledge directly. So most of the knowledge I use for business are things I learned from Philippines, from the business school, the graduate school. And when I got here, even if I started working, I started studying the language, which is very, very important because how do you educate yourself? What is education? Education is information. So how can I educate myself in the Japanese community if I don't speak their language? I don't understand their language. So I went to school here in Japan for 1 year to learn more about how to speak Japanese and things like that. And at the same time, I was learning the business culture. And shortly before I would finish my school, I got a job to teach in Japan. However, I had to still keep on pushing for my dream. And my dream was to start up a digital business. So last year, I started a digital business, which was an online school in my home country. It's called Macris. And due to the challenges, which the world wasn't even prepared, this was in June, they were not so prepared for a digital school. So I can say it wasn't yet a success because the world wasn't prepared for it. And I was still struggling to build a company, putting all my resources into it. And this year, I started working with the Japanese government in public sector, and I wrote to them because I felt like this knowledge was there and we have to put it to work. So why I'm saying this is I want to emphasize on the relevance of education in the society where we are. The relevance of education in this pandemic. Education is important. Don't let anybody steal our education from us. And we should always remember that education also still go far beyond just learning from the classroom. Education go far into what we learn in our daily lives and trying to source for additional information. This will put you far ahead. So I started with that, and I wrote to the Japanese government because as an educator, you're not allowed to own a company in Japan. And in order for me to do what I have to do, I had to establish a school in Japan. So I wrote to the Ministry of Justice, giving them my business plan, what I want to do, like a research, and it was granted. The challenges, everything was approved and went in. With this, we're able to connect different nations together remotely, which I see as a new beginning. And regardless of you being a student, regardless of the circumstance, we all have a role to play because history is repeating itself. Just like Thomas said during the agrarian era, that man will eat man. People are predicting that we're all going to perish. No, we will not perish. The future lies in our young generation. The future lies in your hands. And we all have something to contribute to solve what we are currently facing. And I think one thing I feel will take us out of this will be education. And that's why I put to this in conclusion. What I'll just quickly share my slide again so you can see. Okay, so in conclusion, these are the things I want us to take home today. What vehicle will get us there quickly? This is very, very important. So, what vehicle is going to take us to where we are going to as quick as we want? So, we can go, when making a journey, there are usually different ways we can actually go to where we're going to. So, we can go by foot, by motorcycle or bicycle, by car, we can go by airplane, or we can go by rockets. And I put to you today that tech is the way forward. And tech is a combination or a combo of continuous education, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So this is the age we live in. We must always have this in our mind. Tech is a combo of continuous education. So the learning process continues. And then innovation, we must be creative. Entrepreneur, we are all entrepreneur. We are all, it's all there in us as long as we exist. And then what are the skills needed? What platform to learn? Where is the new classroom? Where is the bank of knowledge? Who are the educators? What are the risks involved? These are some of the questions I would like to throw to us while we conclude this seminar. So we have to develop these skills ourselves. We have to study. Where is the classroom? The classroom is actually on our mobile phone. Like you see, we can actually have classes online and things like that. So we must continue learning. We must educate ourselves. We must go beyond what we are being taught in the classroom, because this is our generation. This is our generation. Regardless of how important it is for the regular education, we need that. But we in this generation, speaking of the youths which are from below 25 to down, or anybody, we really have to impact in this generation. We have to learn. We have to solve the problem of this generation. Let's not leave it to any other person. It's in our hands. And the tools is education. So that's why I want to encourage everyone that we can do this. We can do this together. And education is the key to we achieving or overcoming this pandemic. And so with that, I'll leave this message and I'll leave these questions for us to look over them. And once we have these questions answered in our own way, I believe we will be prepared for post-COVID. So we have to answer these questions in our own way. And once we do this, I want to believe we will be prepared, because this will get us to move. So I would like to open the floor for questions. If we have any questions or anybody, any question or any contribution, we could use the chat box.
Thank you for that very comprehensive discussion, Mr. Aboyowa Magbeyi.
Thank you.
Actually we just received a question from one of our participants.
Okay.
He directly sent the message to us. I will just read it.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the question. How are we going to manage our business though it's difficult to move? Can you give us any strategies or tips to handle our business amidst the pandemic?
Okay. So just like I mentioned, the world is going digital. So we have to incorporate the culture of bringing technology to our business. So we need to learn how to work remotely. Working remotely is the new norm. So regardless of where you are, you can do your business. I'll just quickly show you something. I hope I have it handy here. Okay. So when we talk about business, talking about technology, we have to, going back to the questions, like, for example, Miguel said, if your business is not online, you are out of business. So we are the digital world, right? Like they always say, we are the mobile world, we are always on the internet, we are the digital world generation, mobile generation, like they call us. Yeah, that's true. And that's why we have to solve the problem that we are facing now. So until the vaccine is being created, we have to learn how we can work remotely. We have to learn remote. And speaking about remotely, it won't work for all business, definitely. So not all business can go remotely, but we have to try to modify what we are doing and try to inculcate the culture of working remotely.
Thank you for that. So I just learned that we have to live with the pandemic. Like we have to utilize all the resources that we have, just like technologies you mentioned, and just like what you
Yes.
were saying that we have to work remotely. Thank you for that. And we just received another question from our participant. Let me
Okay.
read the second question. The next question is, as a CEO of your school, how do you handle such challenges or difficult time in creating your school? Again, as a CEO of your school, how do you handle such challenges or difficult time in creating your school?
Okay, so um, I'll say when this whole pandemic started, I was like feeling like as if I was already preparing for it. Personally, using myself, I felt like I was like, do I have a vision that this is going to happen? For example, I when I came into Japan, I was just like, I'm going to make a digital school. I'm going to make a digital school. And this was in 2018. So there was no pandemic there. And why was I speaking forth for a digital school? I wanted to create something that would create job opportunity, like just what I experienced in the Philippines while working remotely. So a digital school could actually create employment for people in Africa or even people in Philippines. For example, a Filipino could teach a Japanese English from his home, and somebody from Nigerian could teach English to a Japanese from Nigerian. Likewise, a Japanese can teach Japanese language to someone in Philippines or someone in Nigerian. So this was actually in line. So will I say digital business kind of favor is in favor during this pandemic, just like we saw the growth in of Zoom during this pandemic. So regardless, I wasn't expecting pandemic, and I don't even want it. But when it came on the face, at that time, I already had a digital school in Africa, which was not moving well because the world was not interested. So when I talked to people in Africa, come and learn Japanese, they said, oh, we want to come to Japan. We don't want to learn it from Africa. So it was really difficult to move my school then. But before the pandemic, in April this year, I started my own digital school in Japan. So while other sectors really struggled really hard, like the tourism sectors, but for educational sectors, we didn't face any challenges because kids have to go to school, and parents invest a lot for their kids' future. So for we didn't face so much challenges. So going back to the same thing, I think it was technology that saved us during that time. It was just technology, and that's what I would say. So try to bring in every attribute of technology you have. Is it for the system of receiving your income, your payments? Bring technology on board. Is it for your appearance, that let people know where you are? Please open a Facebook page where you can tell people about your business. Create a website, no matter how small it is. You have to go online. And apart from that, another thing you have to do, which technology also help, connect with your international community, the community around you. Don't do your business just me, myself, my community. Spread out. With the internet, we have access to the outside world. So you
It's
can,
just like extending your business, right?
yes, you can be in Philippines, connect with Japan, know what's happening in Japan, connect with Thailand, connect with Malaysia. So business is just about creating value for the society. So that society or your clients try to expound your community of clients to go, just because the internet is a global village. So we can really expound. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
one
love
way.
that also that you mentioned that they should see business not just being a business, but it should be something of value. I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah, creating value for people, because one thing is to start a business, another thing is to be successful. So when people come, they are not impressed with what they get from your business, they won't come back. So you always have to have the habit of exceeding customer expectation. Make promotions even if they are very difficult. So for example, there's a project we're going to do sometimes. We're supposed to start it on November 3. It's called 60 plus 60. So Nigeria and Japan became 60 years of diplomatic relation. And it also happened at the time Nigeria gained its independence as a country for 60 years. So which means in the Far East Asia, Japan was the first country to support Nigeria when we gained independence. So as a businessman, what I did was to write to the embassy and business owners that I would like to do a project for Nigerians to teach Japanese, 60 Japanese people English free. And also, my Japanese teachers would teach Nigerians Japanese for free, like a promotion, a scholarship. And we are still working on it. So these are things you can use to bring your business. So now, even if my business is a local business in Japan, I was able to get the attention of the Nigerian government, and at the same time, I'm getting the attention of the government where I live. So by complementing projects that governments are already doing. So that's one recommendation I would tell anybody. So no matter how small your business is, it could be only small in your eyes, but it might really grow big. So don't look at it small, give the shot, go out. And yeah,
Yeah. Like there is always an opportunity for businesses to grow, right?
yes, there's an opportunity for business to go. So when your dream keep you awake, if your dream don't keep you awake late at night, so maybe we are not I think we have another question. We are not ready to move. Yeah. So
Yes. Yes. Um yeah. We have a question from Sharif Zone
okay.
Rajavov. Yeah, let me read the question. Sir Aboyowa, good afternoon. Since you have been in the Philippines for quite some time, what strategies would you suggest to the food business industry, especially in agritourism or agribusiness setting in rural areas or provinces?
Okay, so I think what I would recommend would be more on smart agriculture. And just like I mentioned, we must try to look for collaborations with our international community. COVID-19 has actually brought the world closer than we can ever imagine. We are very, very close. If it was before, in order to participate in this seminar, probably I have to fly down to Philippines to do this. But today I can do it over the internet. So what I'm trying to say is whoever you're looking for, any government authority you're looking for, any government organization, be it the White House in America, they are on the internet. The president of America, he's on the internet. Anybody, even our president, President Duterte, is on the internet. Everybody's on the internet because it has gone, the world has gone beyond where people hide from the internet and just stay by their hide behind their bodyguards or these things. So what I'm trying to say is we have access to a lot of international organization. We have access to them. So most importantly is information. So when you talk of smart agriculture, there are a lot of Japanese organization. For example, there's one which is called JETRO. JETRO, we have JICA. These are organizations that promote Japanese businesses abroad. So for example, like you all know, here in Japan, we face an aging population, which results, I mean, the population is aging. We have an aging population, which results to shortage of workers. So some of the ways I think or I see Japanese government addressing this is by establishing their organizations in other countries, creating having subsidiary of Japanese company in other countries, and this had led to Japanese government creating organizations like JICA and JETRO. So one opportunity for small business I see is let's not have the mind of small business. Regardless of how small your business is, go out there and seek for collaborations with international communities. It will help. So smart agriculture, Japan is the home of technology. Imagine in Biko, if you are able to get a Japanese company to come to Biko and actually use you as a case study to display their technology. So you would just like be counting money out of what would look like not a hard work, but it's actually still hard work. So my advice, going back to her question, is don't do your business within your community. Seek collaborations with the international community. Seek collaboration. When I say seek collaboration, it could not even be the government. It could be someone in Japan. It could be a Japanese person, and you let him bring something into the table. What he could bring his knowledge and things like that.
This could be private individuals, private corporations, or companies that you can have partnership with. And you can start that business, right?
Yes.
Internationally, or not just even locally.
Not locally, yes. So no matter how small it is, since we have the internet, we are all in a global village. So let's connect. For example, you could have your product shipped to Japan. So why other farmers would actually cultivate their product and sell it locally for what is good for the Philippine price market, you can sell your products outside Philippines.
I believe the question was already answered, and actually there is a follow-up question about the first one.
Okay.
The first one that I've given you.
Okay.
She is asking if do you consider the therefore that the school in Japan is better than in Africa? She's referring about the school. You
The
mentioned
school.
earlier here, yeah, the school
Oh,
in
my
Japan.
school in Japan, my own school, right?
Yeah, your school.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the thing. My school in Africa, I don't live in Africa. So I have people run it for me. That's one. And like I said, I opened it in June last year. So at that time, people were not really into online education. You know how many new online users had emerged during this pandemic? So yes, what I have in Japan is actually doing a lot better than what I have in my home country. But we are trying to create a balance. So that's why we are doing some collaboration project between the two companies. So the Japanese company can pull up the Nigerian company.
Yes. Actually, we are so thankful that you are bringing your experiences on
Thank
the
you.
table so that we could really understand those, we could understand those questions from our co-participants.
Right.
And also, I am encouraging the other participants in this room to please put your questions if you have on the chat box. And you can also message us directly if you still have other questions. And also for those who have questions, you can turn on your mic or even your video, and you can directly ask our speaker.
Yes. Tagalog pwede.
Oh, you can speak Tagalog. Yeah, because you stayed in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, yeah. Pero almost 2 years now out of the Philippines. So konti, yeah. But Tagalog
Like
pwede.
what words, Tagalog words that you know?
Marami.
Aside
Marami
from
Tagalog.
kumusta,
Marami.
mara-
Maganda. Ganda umaga. And today, I'm supposed to be in Bicol. If I'm in Bicol now, I can eat Bicol Express, right? So this is
yeah, do you know
the
that?
advantage of the digital world. So I can see all the beautiful faces in Bicol, but I can't eat Bicol Express. This is a special delicacy from the Bicol province.
Hello.
So I think we have a question from Justin May Nanale.
Okay.
Justin, may you can open your mic if you are ready now to ask your question or even your video. We would love to see your smiling faces, of course.
Yes. We would love to see your smiling faces.
Yes.
That's one way to how do you say, in the Philippines, as long as you smile. That was one of the first thing I learned when I came to the Philippines, smiling. So
People
I'm
are
sure,
always smiling.
yeah,
Kasi nga,
before,
ang mga Pilipino ay
yeah, always happy. Before I moved to Philippines, there I was watching a lot of Filipino movies because I wanted to learn the culture of Philippines. And when I came to Philippines, it was slightly different from what I saw in the movie. So I asked my friend and he said, just smile. I said, really? And then I smiled. And you know what? When I smiled, I had a lot of friends. Manami K began. So I said, wow. Because before I was nervous. So I'm like, and then and I lived in a province at first when I came in the northern part of Philippines. So people were like not used to a foreigner then, and this foreigner was frowning. They thought they don't know I was just nervous. So when I heard the secret, just smile, and then Marami
yeah,
Kebiga.
that's the power of a smile. That's the
Wow.
power of Filipino smile to have more friends.
Yes, yes. And also, I want to add this: there's a lot of opportunities for Filipinos in Japan, and uh, in Japan, not even only in Japan, around the world, because Filipinos are very hardworking, like you know. And apart from, there are two major sectors that the Philippines have been able to really develop well, which is their OFW and also the BPO industry. So, and Filipinos have been doing awesomely in this industry. Online English teachers in Japan, Filipinos are well known. In fact, there's no country you don't go, always have Filipinos, and they all keep a good legacy there. So there's a lot of opportunities. So do we have more questions?
I think we still have one question left here.
Okay.
They directly sent us the question. Actually, there is
Okay.
a student. There, according to this individual, he is planning to have a business, but he's still a student, and it's very hard to to put a business. But he's still a student, and we are in the pandemic. What advice you can give to him?
Okay. So um, first of all, what I would recommend is he or she has to have a clear plan of what business um, she would like to venture into. She has to do a lot of research. So why we feel sometimes that we need capital to do business, there are actually some business that you do without capital. So this is the reality of the world we live today. So there are some business you actually don't need capital to do. So for example, I'll give an illustration. Let's say I have a product and I want to have someone collaborate with me to sell those products. So that could be a possible business that one could do without even having capital. So why capital still remains a major issue, the first most important thing is for research. And one can get a mentorship from someone he or she believes in. So it's good to have a mentorship. So there could be someone you in your community or that you know who is very good at business, who is successful. You can try to learn something from him. And most importantly, you have to do research for what you're going to start. So another thing again is passion. So if you go into a business you have no passion for, it's going to be very challenging to be successful in it. So, for example, someone go into a daycare business for taking care of little babies, toddlers, and you don't like kids. So it might be really very challenging, especially if you have to work. So for students, yeah, we have to do research on what to. And I'll just give a reference. I was talking with one of my students in Philippines, and she told me how much she made during this pandemic selling computers. I was surprised. So the whole world is going online. So people need computer, people need gadgets. So she started a business of selling as a third party seller. So she was actually getting it from another company and then selling it. So that was another, I mean, you could use that as a reference also, but it really depends on the passion.
Wow, it is really the passion
Yeah, the
when it
passion.
comes to starting your business. If you
Yeah,
don't even capital, right? There's a lot of ways to even start a business. Could
yes,
having support from those business women or women, and mentorship like you mentioned.
yes.
I believe you already answered all the questions given by
Okay.
our participants, and we are so glad that we just learned a lot of things today. It is something that we are really anticipating even before, because it's so very hard to to work or to have your business during this pandemic. But with your very eye-opening talk, we were able to look for those strategies and tips that we could really adapt for us to to um, to to solve our problem and to solve this immobility that we are having during this pandemic. So with that, before we move on in our program, I would just like to make our participants knowledgeable about the background of our speaker. Pardon on that, we weren't able to give this history or information about our speaker. Mr. Aboyowa Magbeyi is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Information Technology and Pacific University North Philippines. This is for the knowledge of everyone. In 2014, he pursued a master's degree at De La Salle University, where he completed the Masters of Art in International Studies, major in European Studies in just 5 months from May to September. And in the same year, he took Masters in Business Administration at Philippine Women's University. It is a prestigious tertiary educational institution in Manila. And in July 2017, he enrolled himself in Holy Angel University in Pampanga, Philippines, to obtain a doctoral degree in business administration. And what is truly fascinating about you, sir, is that you enrolled a Japanese language course at U Language Academy in Japan. And I wish
Yes,
I could also learn the language.
yes.
And this year, 2020, Mr. Magbeyi is currently taking up Master of Education in Advanced Teaching at the University of the People. It is an accredited distance learning university in the United States. And in the present also, aside from being a certified resource speaker in the project youth industry, life and opportunities, he is he also has an advanced diploma in tourism in hospitality management and tourism marketing and promotion. And he once became a sales associate too of Convergys Philippine Incorporated and event coordinator of Casa de Pedro Hotel in Nigeria. But in the moment, he is working simultaneously as the CEO and marketing director of Magris Enterprises in Nigeria and as the CEO and marketing specialist of Japan Tree in Japan. That is just so wow.
Thank you.
Again, that's he is our speaker, Mr. Aboyowa Magbeyi. I think, sir, you deserve a big round of applause. If they are just, we're just having this seminar in, in face-to-face mode.
Thank you very much. Marami salamat.
Very sorry for that. Okay, so let's proceed now to the awarding of certificates to our speaker. Let me read first the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, San Jose Pili Camarines Sur. This certificate of commendation is hereby awarded to Aboyowa Magbeyi, the CEO, Educator, Marketing Specialist, and Entrepreneur, in grateful appreciation for sharing his precious time and competence as speaker during the webinar Bite into Economics, Challenges and Opportunities of Business Amidst the Pandemic. Given this 24th of October 2020 at Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, San Jose Pili, Camarines Sur. Signed, Dean of the College of Economics and Management, Gladys G. Rosales, the Doctor of Philosophy. Again, let's give this certificate of commendation to Mr. Aboyowa Magbeyi. Thank you so much, sir, for giving
Maraming
your
maraming
time and your words for us to be enlightened about what we should do about our businesses during this pandemic.
maraming salamat. Maraming
Walang
salamat.
anuman, you're always welcome.
Maraming salamat. And I look forward to visiting Bicol City after this pandemic. And also want to put it to you, I and Dr. Gladys will working very closely for to see how we can also um, promote your institution here. Likewise, have some special program for Japanese learning during this time. So, maraming salamat lahat.
Okay.
Maraming salamat din. And also, before we proceed to the next part of our program, we would like also to read the citation for the certificate of participation. This certificate will be given to our participants either through email, or if you have access to our school, we can directly give the document to you. Again,
Okay.
let me read the citation for the certificate of participation for our participants. Republic of the Philippines, Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, San Jose Pili Camarines Sur. This certificate of participation is hereby awarded to, in recognition of his or her valuable participation during the webinar, Bite into Economics, Challenges and Opportunities of Businesses Amidst the Pandemic, given this 24th day of October 2020 at Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, San Jose Pili Camarines Sur. Signed, the Dean of the College of Economics and Management, Gladys G. Rosales, Doctoral of Philosophy, the Chairperson of the Department of Agribusiness, Sunny R. Corporal, and also signed the Chairperson of the Department of Agri-Ecotourism Management, Mr. Arnold D. Arce. So this certificate of participation will be given to our participants through email. You will receive that in a PDF form, or you can directly go to school if you have an access, and we will give you the document. And also, we will be giving you a link for the evaluation. We will be glad if you will fill out those form and give us the evaluation for us to improve those things that we have to improve for this event to be more successful for future. The future webinars that we're going to conduct will be more successful through your evaluation. And to give us, of course, the closing remarks, let us call on the very gorgeous and beautiful and very talented and productive Dean of the College of Economics and Management. Let's call on Gladys G. Rosales, PhD. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, hello, good afternoon. So, thank you everyone for your participation in this webinar. So, Sir Abuyawa, thank you for accepting our invitation. Though he is really so very busy as the owner and CEO of Japan Tourist, we are very glad that he was able to accept it. Our actually first encounter is during our second conference, no, in Manila. And for there, we usually have thoughts and updates in his career. So I'm very happy that he was able to share with her experiences, knowledge, and wisdom. So you might not know that after this webinar, you will be encouraged to create your own school or your own business. So what was this class actually? The our resource speaker was indeed great. That will help us what would be the challenges and opportunities in the business, even though in the pandemic world. Okay, so for this, I'd like to say again, once again, Sir Jomar for being the MC in this webinar, for the support and participation. So in behalf of the College of Economics and Management of the CBSUA Central Bicol State University, we would like to say thank you, and those who have participated in the college, Sharif, and all those who were not able to mention. So thank you very much. Arigato. God bless everyone.
はい、どうもありがとうございました。
So the evaluation will be flash, right? For the link,
I'm sorry, ma'am.
evaluation will be flash. So
Okay, according to our host class here, the evaluation form will be sent in the GC, or we will just update you about the link because we are still preparing for the form. And actually, we would like also to extend our gratitude for our host class for this event. We are so thankful for the effort of these committees for this webinar. Um, for our chairperson, or the head of this event, Marites Imperial; for the communication letter, Nina Platado and the members; for the certificate, headed by Francis Latumbo; the online registration for May Ojeda; the technical, headed by Renz Marion Dilema; the moderator, Leka Pelaes; and we would like also to give our gratitude to the officers, the President Marites C. Imperial, Vice President Darlene Oronan, Secretary May Ojeda, Treasurer Francia Adelaida Robles, the Auditor Julian Lopre, and the Public Information Officer Rhea May Babia. Without these people, this event would not be a success, and we are truly thankful for all the efforts you've given for this event. Although I know I'm not sure if this webinar is the first webinar of the college, but I'm sure that we were able to to accept those challenges and still give seminars, I mean online seminars for our students. And also for the documentation of this program or this event, we will be glad if the participants here will be turning on your camera. We will have a group screenshot.
yes, please.
Again, for the documentation of this event, we would love to see the faces of our participants.
So who is going to have the screenshot? Secretary, please.
I think the technical committee will be working on that. Please bear with us. They're still preparing the materials for taking the screenshot of this event. Again, for those who are not yet opening their cameras, don't have of the documentation of this event.
Thank you guys for your participation. Thank you, Sir Ardolph. Thank you, Ma'am Lian, and thank you, Ma'am Jen.
Okay, I'll count 1, 2, 3, and just give your smile, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, another shot. 1, 2, 3. All right. Again, thank you so much for all the participants who attended this webinar. Mom, do you have anything to say?
Okay, so again, thank you so much for your attendance and God bless and stay safe. Bye-bye for now. Thank you, Sir Jen.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So again, I am Jomar Bundia, and I am signing off to this Bite into Economics Challenges and Opportunities of Businesses Amidst the Pandemic this October 24, 2020, conducted at Google Meet. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much po.
Pakita kayo, pakita kayo. Di ba, nairaos din.
Hi, Ate Tess. Congratulations. Ate Tess.
Great job po. Salamat.
Po.
Hello po. Congrats, everyone. Arigato. Ito mo dapat ito.
Congratulations.
Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you.
Thank you po sa lahat.
Hello po.
Maraming salamat.
Salamat, Shabi.